Hey guys, how are you? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing a review of an action thriller from South Korea. Although it's South Korean, there is a lot of English in it. There's only a tiny bit in the South Korean language with English subs, so the majority of it is in English. Released in the year 2013, directed by Joon-ho, and this movie is called Snowpiercer. So Snowpiercer is set in the future. You've got the world that has succumbed to a catastrophic event when these scientists decide to do a climate change program. But this backfires, and now the world, you basically can't live in the world. So most of the people on Earth have died, but those who have survived this catastrophic event have sought refuge inside this moving train. Now this moving train is huge, and you've got social classes. So right at the back of the train you've got the bottom of the barrel. You've got disease, you've got people dying and just treated really, really badly. And then towards the front of the train you've got the upper class, the rich people, the government officials, and the people who are trying to maintain order. And then you've got the holy engine. Without the engine, everybody's going to die. It's what keeps the train going. So it's almost like a religious figure, this engine. The kids are learning about the engine, and just everything is obsessed on this engine. So if the engine gets into the wrong hands, then all hell's going to break loose. So the government officials are doing everything possible to protect it. So that's why they're keeping the other scum, as they call them, away, as far away from it as possible. So as it's going along, the bottom of the barrel people right at the back, they get a hero in this guy played by Chris Evans. Now this guy, he wants to lead an uprising because of the conditions. As I said, no one cares about them, and he thinks that there's a lot of corruption going on. So he wants to lead an uprising, and that will basically mean they have to storm the train. They have to make their way up until the engine. If they can capture the engine, then that's basically mission accomplished. But along the way they're going to lose a lot of numbers because these government officials are very brutal in what they're trying to protect. So whether or not Chris Evans' character and the rest of them can achieve this capturing of this engine, something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Snowpiercer. I really enjoyed this film. I was a little bit sceptical coming into it. Now Joon-ho is a fantastic director, directed The Host, he directed Mother, very good South Korean films, but I didn't know how he would go directing an English-speaking film. Now, South Korean movies are very different from Hollywood. You've got very vibrant colours. It's very surreal sort of feeling, and that's what sets it apart from everything else. It's got a very unique style. So I was thinking that maybe Joon-ho may have been corrupted coming in. I wouldn't say this is a Hollywood film. It's South Korean, as I said, but it has big-name English-speaking actors. So I thought maybe that having that influence wouldn't really mix in well with the East, if you know what I mean. So South Korea meeting the English-speaking West, and you think to yourself, well, maybe that would corrupt it a little bit, maybe it wouldn't really feel the same, but it did feel the same. I thought this has a very strong South Korean flavour to it, and that's the reason why I think it works. Now, with South Korean films, what you get is absolutely brilliant cinematography, and Snowpiercer is no different. This is captured in a very harsh world. You've got this moving train, you've got upper class, which is really clean, very prestigious, and then right at the back you've got really filthy conditions. You can feel the filth seeping through the screen. You feel dirty watching it, and you feel to yourself that these people are treated very badly, and it's basically a commentary on society. Not only these days when you've got racism, but in the old days, especially in the United States, the Rosa Parks incident on the bus, where she was told to go at the back of the bus because she was deemed as a lesser sort of being. And this is exactly the same sort of feel you get in this film, is that these people have been labelled as back of the train, and that's where they've got to stay, even though the conditions are horrible. What makes the upper class people think that they're better than them? And it's basically the corruption of money, and it shows you that upper class people can prey upon lower class vulnerabilities. And whether they agreed with it or not, these upper class needed the lower class to operate. So it shows you that everyone's got a part to play, but some people just beat themselves up as better than other people, and I think obviously that is very unfair, and I thought that's the way the film worked, and that's why it was so interesting, because it had a social commentary underneath, but it never loses sight of what it wants to be, and what it wants to be is an entertaining film, and it is an extremely entertaining film. Apart from the cinematography, I thought the acting was very good. Chris Evans plays the main guy. He's a hero, but he's not a superhero. He's not the guy who will kill hundreds of people by himself. He's a guy that feels real. He feels like he is confined to reality, and he's the people's hero. He's the guy that's going to stand up for the voiceless. No one's daring to take on the government, and not willing to take on the people who are in charge because of the brutality that they commit, and this brutality is inflicted upon them to gain order. So it shows you once again how powerful violence can be, and I thought that the uprising of these lower class people was very interesting, because when they clash, you feel to yourself that this is a clash of two different social classes, and that the whole thing is ignorance, the whole thing is paranoia, and just basically wanting to keep control and doing it in the worst way possible. So that all goes together very, very well. It's a 2-hour film, but it doesn't really feel boring. There are parts that drag a little bit, there were parts that were a little bit unnecessary, but overall I thought this is a very solid movie. The soundtrack is very good. I thought the outside world out of the train was very cold and dark, and the whole film just has a depressive feeling to it, and it's a feeling that the world has ended, and that the world has changed for the worse now, because inside this train is their existence, and the existence is horrible. I will say I didn't like the ending. I thought the ending was a little bit, and it didn't really, it wasn't a rewarding payoff. It didn't really do the film any favours, because up until the ending it was very, very good. But as I said, I didn't like the ending. I thought that was a little bit weak. I would have liked Joon-ho to go a little bit, different in the direction to the ending of the film. But overall, it is a very entertaining movie. It's fun, and as I said, it has that social sort of commentary underneath it about classes and about how situations that are deemed unfair can boil over into these uprisings. If you're going to treat people so badly, there's only a limit of what someone will take before all hell breaks loose, and that's exactly what happens in this movie. So the fight choreography was extremely well done. You've got Tilda Swinton, Chris Evans, John Hurt, a host of very good English and American actors, and then you've got the South Korean actors. And I thought the East and the West gels together very well in this film, and it still feels like a very good South Korean movie, but it's just something a little bit different as well. So if you like your post-apocalyptic, futuristic movies, Snowpiercer is definitely one to check out. As a result of all this, I'm going to give it 4 stars. Alright guys, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.